Another day is here, and you're ready for it. What to wear? Check. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Check. Planning for what's next and how to save for it? That's where Bank of America can help. For your financial to-dos, Bank of America has experts ready to help get you closer to your goals. Get started at one of our local financial centers or 24/7 in our mobile banking app. Find a location near you at bankofamerica.com/talktous. What would you like the power to do? Mobile banking requires downloading the app and is only available for select devices. Message and data rates may apply. Bank of America N.A., member FDIC.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Think you know the Brooks Ghost? Think again. Introducing the all-new, better-than-ever Ghost 16. Now with nitrogen-infused cushioning for lightweight, supreme softness that feels good every step, every street, every single day. So go ahead, take your daily joyride in the all-new nitrogen-infused Ghost 16. It'll turn your everyday miles into everyday endorphins. Let's run there. Head to brooksrunning.com to learn more.
Hello and welcome to AI Scouted on Anfield Index Pro. I'm Dave Hendrick, and joining me to carry on with our coverage of Euro 2024 is Mr. Karl Matchett. How are you, sir?
In stellar form and eagerly anticipating a weekend day.
Yes. So today is Saturday's podcast, but for the benefits of those wondering, we are recording on the Friday, so we don't know how the Friday games have played out yet. That is Slovakia, Ukraine, Poland, Austria, and Netherlands versus France. So we won't be talking about them today. We're going to focus on Saturday's games, which are the final games of match day 2. They are Georgia versus the Czech Republic, Turkey versus Portugal, and Belgium versus Romania, which, it being the last game, is quite ridiculous. Considering the other game in this group was the first game on Friday. This is what you were giving out about in terms of scheduling. And it really is an annoyance that we've had a Group E game, then 2 games from Group D, 2 games from Group F, and now we're getting the second game from a Group E last. That's just very, very silly and poor planning, in my opinion. But let's start then with Georgia versus the Czech Republic or Czechia. I thought Georgia were very, very unfortunate not to get a result in their opening game. I thought it was a very, very good game. They obviously conceded 2 great goals to Mulder and Arda Güler, but they scored a pretty decent goal of their own through Mikitadze. They were committing bodies forward, and obviously then for a set piece, they sent everybody forward, including the goalkeeper, and just got caught with an empty net. And Akter Koglu just ran the ball the length of the pitch and then tapped home. Should almost be ashamed of himself that he didn't shoot from the halfway line and just carry on the bangers-only mentality that his teammate had. But this is a different type of test now, because the Czechs are not as good on the ball as the Turks, but they're kind of solid defensively and they've got a very defined way of playing. They lost to Portugal 2-1 through a late Spony goal that Conceição scored after an own goal by Pranic had cancelled out their own opener. What are you expecting from this game?
Carnage. Do I need any more description than that?
Maybe a little bit. Do you think is it likely that the Georgians have the vast majority of the ball here?
No. I think this might be one of those games that we've seen quite a few of them where one team is like dominant for a 15-minute spell and then the other team just realises they have to start playing the match and then they get a good spell and then just one that swings backwards and forwards, but not in a basketball way, but more in spells of on top and then waking up and spells on top for the other team. I think there's enough ability in the Czech team to have their own spells of the match where they're really on top. Like there certainly should be like Provod, Souček, and Soch as a three-man midfield is pretty decent, but Kotrashvili was excellent in that first game. Like really, really good for Georgia in midfield. And we know that they're very good on the counter-attack. We saw that they're willing to commit players forward against a side much, much bigger names and bigger reputation than themselves. So you can absolutely bet that they will do against Czech. That Georgia have nothing to lose, basically, because it was incredibly unlikely that they would ever qualify for this in the first place. It's equally unlikely you would feel that they'll qualify next time out. So a lot of these are going to feel it's now or possibly never for us. So they're going to go all out for this result against Czech Republic. I have no doubt about that at all. And I'm hopeful that their approach primarily makes this one a really watchable game, because Czech Republic strike me as a team who they always seem to react to how the match is progressing. Like if it's slow, if the other team is like defensive possession, all the rest of it, then they're quite happy to sit behind the ball and just wait. But if the other team are coming at them and really aggressive and in their face and all that, they kind of react the same way. And their game becomes about that as well. So I'm hopeful that that's what we end up getting. Georgia really pushing to take the initiative and Czech Republic having to respond to that and being good enough to do so.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. The Czechs will sort of look to play it at your tempo and then just adapt to it. I'm looking forward to it, this game. I really am. I really want to see more of Kotrashvili, who's is not a player I was overly familiar with. He's had one season in the Levante first team. That was this past season. That's the second division in Spain, obviously, he's playing in. Prior to that, he played 2 years in the third tier of Spanish football, one on loan and one with Levante B. And now he's, kind of announcing himself on the international stage, and it wouldn't be a surprise to me if we see him get a move off the back of this competition, because he's clearly a much better player than, a run-of-the-mill Division 2 in Spain type of guy. I think there will be clubs that come looking for him. I thought Mikitadze, who you'd obviously highlighted pre-tournament, he looks dynamite. I mean, there's definitely going to be clubs looking at him. I think a few other of these Georgian players as well. And as you said, it's Georgia. They might not get back to an international tournament for, maybe ever. Well, they get back at some point. It might be 50 years from now. But so for these players, not only is it maybe their only chance at playing at the tournament like this, but it's also a shop window for them. It's an opportunity to earn a move to, because there's always one or two clubs that will react and buy off the base of an international tournament. And these Georgian players, I mean, they could be like the Romanians from '94, where all of a sudden every club needed to have a Romanian and Spurs decided to buy like 8 of them. I think this is a really good chance for some of these players, to earn themselves a move. There's a lot of them playing second division football in some of the top leagues. I mean, Chekvitadze playing for Watford, Kotrashvili we've mentioned, Mikitadze Metz were relegated, so I mean he's set to play in the second division in France next year. But I just don't think he's going to. I think he's going to earn a move away. Divadachvili, I think, is another one who came off the bench in the first game. I think he is likely to get a move as well, because again, he just looks a good player. I think it's quite exciting for the Georgians, though. It's an opportunity for them to really put their names on the map.
Yeah, it's huge. And look, we've said several times, at least one team, I reckon, if not potentially a second, but at the minute it looks like maybe just one, is going to go through with 3 points. So first of all, you've got to get those 3 points, and this is obviously their best opportunity, their best potential game to do it in. They had a really good go against Turkey, came close to getting results, but they have to do it this time because Portugal, they know, is going to be the most difficult game of the lot. So, like I say, nothing really to lose, everything potentially to gain. Just go for it.
Yeah, just go out and play with no fear. Play like you did from 37, 38 minutes onwards in that Turkey game. These are not as good as Turkey.
Yeah.
And they don't carry the same threat. I mean, like, let's be honest, they got undone by two absolute stunning goals. They limited what Turkey were actually able to create. I know the Turks had a goal disallowed for an offside, but aside from that, they didn't really create any really good chances. They got into dangerous areas, but couldn't create those dangerous chances and needed two worldies to get them ahead. So if the Georgians can defend as well as they did in that game, and then marry it with the solid work in midfield, the creativity, the power, the running, and then maybe, I mean, I didn't think Klicha had his best game, but there was a couple of occasions where he got one-on-one with centre-backs who were dragged out to deal with him, and he just couldn't get past them. If he has the type of game we know he's capable of having, and all the rest play the way they did in that first game, then they've got a real chance of not only just winning the game, but really putting on a bit of a show, because there's a lot of good footballers in their team. I'm going to go for 3-1 Georgia win.
That's big. That is big. I am going to go a Georgia win. I think if they play the same way they did in the first game, and Czech Republic play the same way they did in the first game, it's a Georgia win. But I am going to go a lot more narrow than that. I'll go for 1-0. But an exciting 1-0, not a boring, stodgy England type of 1-0.
Only England and France serve up the stodginess in this tournament so far. Right, moving on. The other game in this group then, I think, is one to really look forward to. It's Turkey versus Portugal. Both of them won their first games. The Portuguese didn't look overly impressive to me. We've talked at length about Roberto Martinez as a manager. I thought Leao had a particularly poor game in that opener. I just think Cristiano causes that attack to falter quite a lot. I didn't like the midfield makeup. I wasn't overly keen on the defensive setup either. There wasn't really much I did like about the Portuguese other than when they made their changes. I thought the substitutions worked. But I'm really curious to see if Martinez goes with the same starting 11, because it didn't work.
Yeah, Turkey's 11 and setup looked a lot closer to where they wanted to end up than Portugal's did. Portugal obviously have some players, probably if you go man-to-man, they have the better players across the board. But I don't know how that's going to actually match up in really key areas, to be honest, because I thought that Turkey's midfield looked a lot more aggressive and capable of moving the ball nicely into the areas they really wanted it than Portugal's did. But on the other hand, Turkey did have spells where they were completely overrun and bypassed by like pace and power and all of that. Again, how much of that do Portugal have? They're a lot more measured in their build-up. They're a lot more deliberate about where they get the ball and how they progress that. So there's a bit of a clash of styles here as much as anything else.
Yeah, I mean, in a midfield pair that is Vitinha and Bruno Fernandes, you have neither pace nor power. So that might be something that plays to the Turkish kind of wants of how they want the game to go. Don't think they'll have to spend as long chasing shadows. But what they might have to do is go running after the ball quite a bit, because it's a very technically sound Portuguese midfield. Even though, like, I actually just don't like that pairing at all. I think Bruno's wasted playing that deep, and I just think Vitinha is hugely overrated. He's a decent player, but like, he can't be your defensive midfielder. He just can't. You're going to get exposed if he's your defensive midfielder. And if you're playing Nuno Mendes as 1/3 of a back three, I would question what you're doing. Like, how are you looking at that kid who's absolutely dynamite going forward and struggles defensively and saying, you know what we're going to play him as the left side of a back three? My assumption is the reason he's there is that Ruben Diaz doesn't have a whole lot of pace, and Pepe is 49 years of age and has absolutely no pace. So you put the quickest guy in the squad, or one of the two quickest guys, the other one being Leao, in the back three with them and say, right, your job here is to just cover for them two because they can't run.
But like, there's this weird in and overlapping thing going as well, where Cancelo would go vaguely central midfield and then Mendes would have to overlap him, like first half more than second half. And like when Mendes gets forward, obviously you're capable of seeing, or you see what he's capable of and so on and so forth. But what's the point? Why not just have him as the wing back, have Cancelo as the third centre back, and he can step forward when appropriate? Why the need for all the extra stuff that just gives everybody extra running, leaves extra spaces at the back? It just made no sense. It really, really didn't. I didn't like that silly Cancelo role at all. Like, there was no real wing backery from him. And when he went infield, there was not always somebody overlapping that side. It was, there's no need for it.
And especially with Mendes having had the hamstring injuries that he's had, and you're taxing him by asking him to A, cover those two centre-backs at high speed, and then B, overlap like a demon from a very deep starting position. Like, if you wanted to play that group of players, it just seems obvious to me that you'd play Cancelo as the right wing back, Mendes as the left wing back, and Delot as a centre back, because I think he's much better defensively than he is going forward. And I think he's got enough pace that he can cover for Pepe. And you just tell Ruben Diaz to book his ideas up and cover for himself. There's a lot I don't like about how Portugal set up. But there was a lot I did like about the Turks. And you mentioned how aggressive the midfield were and how good they were at moving that ball forward into positions where...
Now's the time to save 30% on wedding jewelry, only on BlueNile.com. Make sure your wedding ring is the one with your pick of diamond and lab-grown diamond bands, all hand-finished and graded for excellence. Or surprise her with something blue she'll love for life, like a stunning pair of sapphire earrings. Blue Nile's jewelry experts are available 24/7 to help, from fit questions to style advice. Right now, get up to 30% off at BlueNile.com. BlueNile.com.
With threats to our nation waiting around every corner, adaptability is more important than ever. When conditions change without notice, quick strategic thinking is crucial. And with obstacles consistently impending, determination is essential in overcoming them. It's this willingness, decisiveness, and resilience that sets Marines apart. With our fighting spirit, we don't just fight battles, we win them. Marines are the constant our nation counts on to fight the unknown. And through adaptable problem solving, we do just that. Learn more at Marines.com.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
They wanted to play from. I didn't think Ergin Kokyu had the best game, and I thought a lot of their build-up play sort of broke down with him. But I thought Çalhanoğlu and Ayan were quite good. I thought the two centre-backs were good and very front-footed. Mulder obviously got the goal. Çalhanoğlu at left-back is an interesting one. He's a right-footed left-back. And not in the way where, like, Dennis Irwin was a right-footed left-back, or Brahma was a right-footed left-back, or even Maldini, where they were still great on their left foot. He has no real left foot to speak of. Everything is on his right foot. He's a good player, but he offers quite a unique look. The two wingers, though, are the real stars of the show here, Arda Güler and Kenan Yildiz, and they're going to be the big hopes to carry Turkish football for the next 15 years or so. The more ball they get, I think they can really hurt this Portuguese team if they line up the same way. Because Güler picks up really good positions, and if he can find space behind Cancelo and in front of Mendes and draw Mendes out, and they can get runners into that space behind Mendes to the left of Pepe, that's where I think they can have success. Because, like, Pepe's been a great defender. He's had an incredible career, but he's very, very old now. and he's quite limited in how much ground he can cover. He is 41 years of age. Still going strong. Fair play to him. I think it's great to see him still playing, but he shouldn't be starting for the national team.
Who would you say is Turkey's striker? From that first game, who played centre forward?
Well, technically, it was Yilmaz.
Yeah.
Except he didn't really play as a striker, did he?
No.
He sort of drifted left and Yildiz took central areas. He drifted right and Güler took central areas. He dropped off and Kaku stepped forward a little bit. I thought it was quite fluid. Like he played it as a false 9 type, but I mean, he didn't play it as a 9. He is a good player, though. I do quite like what I see with him.
So I wasn't too familiar with him, to be honest. Obviously, he plays for Galatasaray. I'm not watching the Super League. So I had a quick look to see what he was doing with them. For them this season, he was playing left back and on the wing. So I'm not really sure why he plays up front. Does he play up front for Galatasaray as well? Because I had a good look through his season to see how he'd been doing and what kind of. I saw his goal return wasn't great. It was like 6, and then I started looking into where he was playing. He was playing left back and then on the wing, like I say.
Yeah, I assume he's got plenty of energy and he's aggressive, and I assume part of it is so that he can press and harry, and also the movement, having him drop deep, having him move out wide. I assume that's part of it, is that they want that fluidity that he can offer that maybe a number 9 can't, and maybe some of the selfless running that he does, because I don't think they want Yilmaz and Güler having to do too much above and beyond off the ball, because I think they're really focused on what those two can bring on the ball. So having someone like him, almost like a Dirk Kuyt type, who will save the legs of others by doing all the running for them. I think he's an intelligent player as well, which I do think factors in and helps.
An interesting one to watch once he comes up against more, should we say, grizzled defenders, which he might face in this game, and he didn't necessarily in the first game. He played at the highest level. Yeah,
I definitely think so. Final game of the day then, and the final game of match day 2 sees Belgium take on Romania. You were not high on this Belgian team at all, and you called correctly that the Slovakians would get a result. I think you picked a draw on that one.
I did pick a draw.
Yeah, but I mean, you were closer to being right than I was. I picked a comfortable Belgian win. We were both completely wrong about Romania. We both picked Ukraine to win, and Romania slapped thumbs out of them. So this is a very interesting game, because Romania know that if they win, they're through. A draw, and they're through. The Belgians desperately need to win. Now, I do think they were a little bit unfortunate that the Lukaku goal was disallowed. I thought Openda was being fouled as he kind of touched the ball with his hand. But based on the overall performance, Belgium were just so disappointing. And like, maybe it's just me, Karl. KDB looks like a fella that needs a significant rest.
Maybe needs a rest. Maybe, to be honest, I do think that a lot of the time he starts games with Belgium looking irritated already, and De Bruyne, as he goes on, I don't know if this is a consequence of him not being able to do everything he wants to do himself, like because the injuries are impacting that. He's to me as a player who gets really annoyed and really irritated much quicker than he used to be in games, like with teammates, with the situation, with the referee, with his own game. He gets subbed earlier now. He never used to really get subbed at all, and so maybe all of that is just having an impact. But this Belgium team was like a shocker. They were terrible in that first game. Like, I didn't understand some of the selections, the people they put together, the defensive partnerships. That nothing. They were a joke. They were absolute rubbish. I don't feel sorry for them at all for those goals being disallowed. Like, even if, as you say, he was being fouled, the best they're getting out of that one is a free kick themselves. They're still not getting a goal for it because the free kick would precede the handball, so that's the decision you give, because otherwise you would have to give the handball still. So, no, I have no sympathy for them at all. They were garbage.
What about your friend Wood Fade? On your head.
He was garbage. He lived up to expectations. That's more something you can say for him rather than the rest of the side, perhaps. But
I think in the last 15 minutes, he might have even exceeded expectations.
There was one point where he missed a header, tried to win back the ball, immediately passed it back to them, and sort of overran it himself out of play when they had the ball. It was quite the moment for Wout. I assume he's going to remain in the team because Belgium. But look, there's more issues to sort than just Wout Faes being a starting centre back. That just happens to be a big one.
Yeah, it does. I mean, look, I think Castagnier is coming off a pretty decent season with Fulham. I think Zeno de Bast is going to be a very, very good centre back, and he's on his way to Sporting. So Amorim tends to be very good at developing centre backs, but Faes is just a train wreck. I hate Yannick Carrasco as a fullback. Absolutely hate the sight of it. Don't like it at all. The Mangala Onana midfield pairing, I mean, they're both good players. I think Onana's obviously the better player. But who is doing the ball playing in a Mangala Onana? Like, who's getting the ball from your defence into your attacking area? If that's the pairing, I think that's one change they have to make. I don't understand why Arthur Vermeeren doesn't get the nod. That's what he does better than anyone else in this squad, including Yuri Tielemans. The attack, Doku is very talented, but still has absolutely no idea how to play football. Like you said, KDB just looks pissed off all the time, and not just for Belgium. Like, for City, he just looks furious all the time now.
Yeah.
It's almost like he starts games at City knowing he's going to get taken off, and he's already kind of pre-set his mindset of, I'm going to be pissed off when I get taken off, so I might as well be pissed off now. And then Trossard, he's a good player. He's a very good player in the right role. I think that role is coming off the bench. I think he impacts games more off the bench than he does as a starter. But I don't overly love the other options they've got, other than maybe playing Openda wide, but that's not the best use of him. And there's just this thing with Lukaku where he just doesn't look like he cares. So
I don't know about
there's
Lukaku.
just big problems everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know about Lukaku. I mean, I've never been his biggest fan anyway, but he is just such a potent goal scorer. You kind of have to. You
have to have him in the team. You have to. But it's like, you have to. Only a couple of managers have really gotten through to him over his career and really got him locked in. Conte did it. I think when he was at Everton, that was under Martinez, wasn't it? So, he was able to do it there. And then, I suppose, he had a good enough loan spell at West Brom, but we're going back a long time now.
Yeah, no.
He hasn't lived up to what he should have been, given the talent and the ability in front of goals. And Ronald Koeman 1 year at Everton as well.
But look, even ignoring club level, at Belgium level, he's been the go-to guy for so long now that surely whoever is there as head coach, if they know that they're going to use him anyway, the emphasis has to be on creating chances for him. But there's just always such a mishmash of styles from manager to manager with Belgium. And not so much the formation, but I mean the progression of the ball, the way they get into the final third, where they attack from in the final third. It's making use of De Bruyne and trying to get him with linking with Lukaku. Then it was Lukaku from the right-hand side making diagonal runs. Then it's two up top because you had so many young forwards coming through. Now it's this 4-2-3-1 where one is really, really wide but runs with the ball and doesn't cross, and the other one is like a second forward anyways. Neither of them are creating for Lukaku. He's often just there as the focal point of the attack, which never really comes. I don't know how much is actually on him in this exact setup, to be honest. Because, he's put the ball a couple of times in the net in the first game, and it's offside. That's fine. But he's done what he was given. What other shots did he get set up for? Right? There's very little that gets given to him, to be honest.
Yeah, that's 100% it. There's no supply to him. And, like, you would have thought the whole idea of playing Carrasco as a left back is to have him just constantly on the attack as part of the supply for Lukaku, and we didn't really see a whole lot of that in the first game. I do wonder if they would be better maybe switching both wingers and trying a Bakayoko who's a bit more of a creator than Doku, who's just more of a dribbler, and then playing Openda as that sort of second forward, because he's got a lot more pace than Trossard, so he can make more dynamic runs and get closer to Lukaku. But there's a lot of issues with this team. There's a lot of talent, but I mean, are we seeing the last days of the international career of Kevin De Bruyne? Is he going to walk away after this? It's very possible that he will. And his international career then is going to end as a complete disappointment, as Eden Hazard's did, where a team that promised so much when it sort of all emerged together 12, 14 years ago is going to underachieve time and time and time again on the biggest stages. And, like, they're not going to win this competition, so there's no point in thinking of them in that regard. But, like, they are at a real risk of not even making it out of the group, Karl.
Yeah, I agree. It needs a response today as much as anything, because this Romanian team are going to be absolutely flying confidence-wise in that. Right, give us your prediction then, because I've got one very quick question. We've already gone over time again, so just to wrap up with.
I will go with a 1-1 draw.
I'll back Belgium to give Rom stuff to do and say 2-1 today.
Cool. Right, what's your question?
While we've been doing this pod, Rob Page has been sacked from Wales. So since it's an international job, it bears relevance and comment. Nothing to do with the Euros, they're not in it obviously, but in the Nations League coming up, they've got Turkey, Montenegro and Iceland in their group. So bearing that in mind, and their general hoped for progression, the players they've got, just give me the first name that comes to mind who might suit them as their new boss.
I mean, the issue is it's the same as the Ireland thing, where they're not one of the kind of glamour international jobs, so you're not going to be able to go and pluck a big name manager unless it's somebody who's old and just looking for a nice part-time gig. So could you look at a club manager and have them do both, be a club manager and manage the international team? Is that a realistic option for them? If not,
for a while, is it?
No, it hasn't. Like, that's the thing. I'm not surprised he's been sacked. I'm surprised he's been sacked by 10 o'clock over Friday morning, but would it be worth going back to someone like, I don't know, I can't even say his name. I was going to say Mark Hughes, but no. I actually just can't think. There you go. Do you know what? Tony Pulis. The guy's been walking around with no clothes to wear now for quite a while. 4 years out of the game. It's a disgrace that one of the great managers hasn't been working for 4 years. He's still only 66. He's got plenty of lead left in him. Give it to Tony. He's a proud Welshman. It will be the crowning moment of his career. And you know what? In the post-Bale Ramsey era, they might just need to get a bit gnarly and a bit agricultural to advance and be competitive. Give it to Tony. Oh, Craig Bellamy's not a bad shout.
I was just about to say Bellamy. Horrified by the suggestion of Pulis, but yeah, Bellamy obviously been coach and assistant for a while. It looks like Van Nistelrooy might get the Burnley job, which in itself is interesting. But yeah, we've seen a few former players go straight into international management now as their first significant job, and obviously Bellamy has been involved with Wales for an awfully long time. So, yeah, I don't think that's a bad option for them to consider, at least.
Yeah, I do think that's a decent shout, actually a very good shout. I think Tony Pulis is, he's at least worth considering. Next Wales manager. I'm just going to check the odds and see who's top. So Steve Cooper, he's obviously just taken the Leicester job. You've got
Nathan Jones, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and then the top two are Mark Hughes and Tony Pulis. There you go.
I wonder if Ocean Roberts might be considered.
Possibly been involved as well, hasn't he? So
yeah,
maybe a combo of the two of them, in fact, because they do like the continuity.
Yeah, maybe because if he's like the assistant to Bellamy, he could still do his job at Como, where they pretend he's the manager despite the fact that Cesc is clearly the manager. Yeah, to be fair, Bellamy's the one that makes all the sense, isn't it? Lets him get some grounding as a manager, lets him try out some things, and gives him the opportunity. And then if he does well there, that could then be the springboard to a decent club career for him. Yeah, to be fair, I think we'd all throw the weight behind Bellamy on this one. I've just discussed that there's no odds for Tony Pulis. I think it's a disgrace. He's the greatest living Welshman.
On that note, see you next week.
Yeah, we'll be back. It'll be Karl and Guy for Sunday's pod, and then we'll be back to myself and Karl for Monday. So take care and have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
This podcast is sponsored by IQ Bar. I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ Bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and zero weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 7 plant protein bars, 4 hydration mixes, and 4 enhanced coffee sticks. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20 to get 20% off all IQ Bar products plus free shipping. Again, go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20.